The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. The summer heat sure makes us wish we're in Baguio City right now. So when is the summer capital of the Philippines going to reopen its doors to tourists? Let's get that answer. We have our correspondent Dale De Vera. He's reporting to us live from Baguio City. Dale, can we pack our bags now and drive up there?
Risa, the residents of NCR Plus Bubble may soon enjoy the cold winds of Baguio City. But this, as Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat is pushing for the reopening not just of Baguio City, but also other tourist spots as well. Puyat said a special meeting will be held tomorrow to discuss the possibility of allowing NCR Plus Bubble residents to travel for leisure purposes. For the Tourism Secretary, it's time for them to be allowed to spend a vacation in Baguio City and other tourist destinations. Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong has expressed support for Puyat's proposal. But at the same time, he is asking tourists to strictly follow the minimum health protocols in place against COVID-19. At present, those coming from San Fernando City, La Union, which is part of Baguio City's tourism bubble, will need a negative antigen test, while those who are residing outside the bubble need to show an RT-PCR test. Based on the latest data from the Baguio LGU, 575 COVID-19 cases in the city are still active. At least 23 barangays are currently under lockdown. Senior citizens and minors are also allowed to go out of their residence as long as they are going to open areas. Riza, the Tourism and Labor departments also provided financial assistance to tourism workers affected by the lockdown. The beneficiaries are not only limited among hotel industry workers, but also those who are in the transportation-related groups. Riza?
Well, thank you for that report. Stay safe. That's Dale De Vera reporting to us live from Baguio City. Meanwhile, around 50,000 doses of Russia's Sputnik V vaccine will arrive in the Philippines tonight at 11 p.m. The Health Department announced that the jabs will be used in a pilot run to assess the country's logistic capability in handling highly sensitive vaccines. Recall that the Russian-made shots need to be stored at -18 degrees Celsius and be kept as a frozen solution. The DOH added that these doses will be deployed to highly populous areas which are seeing an increase in cases.
According to the National Vaccine Cluster, ibibigay po ito uli doon sa mga lugar na nakikitaan natin ng pagtaas at may high burden of disease. So siguro po mga 2 hanggang 3 lugar muna ang mabibigyan itong mga bakunang to.
Let's now talk more about the vaccines and other issues with Dr. Jean Solante, a member of the DOST Vaccine Expert Panel. He is also head of San Lazaro Hospital's Adult Infectious Disease Department. Doc Solante, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Riza.
Doc, do you have any knowledge as to where Sputnik V jabs will be deployed, and do you agree to give these to highly populous areas?
Yes, I totally agree, and that was the plan of the vaccine clusters, including the Department of Health, that we should be giving these vaccines to areas with high rate of transmission or reporting high number of cases during this time.
Doc, what can you say about the storage capability of our country for such highly sensitive vaccines? Do you think we're ready to receive and deploy more doses?
Definitely, yes, because before these vaccines, like the other highly sensitive or needs very low temperature storage, like the Pfizer vaccines, there are already areas identified in most of this target population, so that once these vaccines will arrive, then these areas will be ready to accommodate these vaccines to be stored in freezers or in storage refrigerators that will suit with the requirement of these vaccines for a cold chain storage.
Dr. Jean, have you seen any reports of adverse events linked to Sputnik V vaccine here in the country and perhaps abroad? And if so, how serious are these?
Okay, so if most of the side effect that was experienced with this vaccine is still related with ability of this vaccine to cause local irritation at the site of the injection. No? So, meaning yung pamamaga, pananakit sa area kung saan binabakunahan, at minsan yung masakit talagang ang katawan. No? So most of the time, these are the common side effects encountered, not only in the interim data of the clinical phase 3, but also in actual inoculation of these vaccines in our setting.
Doc, ayon po sa COVID-19 task force, we've already administered over 5 million doses so far, but we're still seeing around 7 or 8,000 daily cases. When can we actually see the impact of vaccinations?
As we always indicate, Risa, no? Hanggang hindi natin mabakunahan around at least mga 40 or 50% of the population. Okay? So hindi pa natin talaga makikita na magbababa at yung tinatawag natin na immunity at the level of this population. So we'll continue to monitor, and hopefully vaccines will arrive so that a large proportion of the population, that is really our target. No? Kung hindi man 70 to 80, maski at least 40 to 50% mabakunahan before the end of the year. Medyo magiging kampante na tayo dito. But again, because of the limited access or supply of these vaccines, yun ang pinaka-problema, which is also a global problem.
Doc, since you mentioned that, the government is now shifting to what they call population protection from the herd immunity goal. Can you share with us your thoughts on this?
So, ang population protection is focusing on a particular population at risk of getting the severe infection, and these patients are also at higher risk of being in the hospital, no, becoming severe. So when you protect this group of population, and these are the A1, the A2, and the A3, and some of this A4, na pag nabakunahan mo sila, no, you will also lessen the burden of the health facilities, because ito yung mga population na mataas talaga ang risk na pag nagka-COVID, mataas ang risk din na maging moderate to severe. And in some, most of them will also have severe. So, pag nakuha natin, pag nabakunahan natin itong population na to, then malaking bagay na bababa ang kaso sa this group of population, at malaking tulong sa pagsugpo natin sa COVID-19.
Dr. Solante, ano pong masasabi niyo sa recommendation ng Octa Research Group na i-focus po yung deployment of vaccine to NCR Plus to quote-unquote kill the head of the pandemic?
Actually, I more or less agree with that, no? Kasi kung titingnan natin, the cases in the NCR bubble comprises around, let's say, 60 or more than 50% of the total daily cases, no? And when you focus the vaccination here, so you will take out the 60%, the more than 50% cases na nakikita natin sa daily number of people that are infected. So pag ginagawa natin yan, yun yung tinatawag natin na you not only get the population immunity or benefit, but also some form of herd immunity in this particular region alone.
Doc, we're expecting more doses to arrive, but health officials admit that vaccine hesitance or preference of Filipinos remain to be a problem. Are there any ways to address this?
Yeah, so tama yan, no? In fact, the Department of Health is already doing a lot of this mga information campaign, delivering correct information, especially in the community, no? Kasi ang hesitancy nandun sa community. And I think the better part here is really to address bakit pa sila hesitant. And nakikita natin ngayon na ang kadalasan naman, ang hesitancy is driven based on the report na kadalasan sa kanila natatakot talaga sa adverse event ng mga bakuna, no? Hindi doon sa efficacy. So nakikita rin natin na on how to address this is really going into each specific issues. Bakit hindi sila nagpapabakuna? Kung adverse event naman, so palagi nating nire-remind sila na itong mga bakuna dumadaan sa tamang proseso approved by the regulatory agency na ligtas at safe ibabakuna, at Pangalawa siguro, bigyan natin din ng another incentives that pag nabakunahan ka na, we will have to malaking chance na may balik natin yung dating buhay natin na pwede na tayong makalabas sa bahay natin, magtrabaho uli, no? But again, importante yun para lang mabigyan sila ng confidence na yung hesitations to get the vaccine, bababa.
Well, thank you, Doc, for your time and for sharing with us your insights. That's Dr. Jean Solante, head of San Lazaro Hospital's Adult Infectious Disease Department and also a member of the Vaccine Expert Panel. Now, Senator Francis Torrentino calls the IATF to implement the so-called waterfalls policy in the COVID-19 vaccination rollout. Tolentino explained that under the waterfalls policy, the IATF could re-allot the reserved vaccines for those who belong to A2 and A3 categories but refuses to get inoculated. The senators insisted that this policy can hasten the vaccination rollout in the country. Now, here are other stories we're keeping our eyes on. The Supreme Court has approved the rules of procedure on petitions to inquire bank deposits and investments in non-bank financial institutions that are suspected of violations of the Anti-Money Laundering Act. With this, the prosecution may pursue the remedy of asset forfeiture by an allegation in the criminal information that will proceed against the subject of the crime. The rules will take effect starting Monday. The Makabayan Bloc has filed House Bill 9494 or the Emergency Student Aid and Relief Bill to subsidize education costs in times of crisis relative to alternative modes of learning. Now, under the measure, a student aid network will be launched as a campaign center to unite all efforts to rechannel funds from other sources and financial aid. And PLDT will expand its international bandwidth capacity with the completion of the Jupiter cable system by the end of the year. The completion of the new cable system is seen to increase the telecom's international capacity to 60 terabytes per second. And for more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World Online. You may also visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.